I feel like I'm in trouble.
Sits up.
Yeah, what do we got?
We're trying to get ready, and you're just looking at your calendar.
I know. Well,
I know, it's Monday.
It's Monday. I was just trying to get my head around this week.
My kids had a hard Monday morning. Emmy literally woke up, and she woke up late. I don't know why. She's like my early riser.
Takes after her mama.
Rude.
I don't know.
She woke up late and then was like crying, and she was like, "Do I still have time to take a shower?" And I was like, "Yeah, you've got time. Go, like, jump in." Went to school with her hair kind of wet, and it was all a thing. But she was not having a good morning. And then Jesse was having an okay morning, and then got to school and was like, "I'm not ready for school." I was like, "I'm sorry. Goodbye."
Yeah. No. It's and of course
Starting
that's
that
like
early.
welcome to the world of adulting, right? Just waking up on Monday and I'm not really ready for this. You
No.
know, it's good.
Are we ever?
But are we here? And of course, in our worlds, Monday is not the first day of the week.
No, absolutely not.
Monday is
Yeah.
the second day of the week, right?
Yeah.
Which I wonder if every other working people, like Tuesday morning's the worst. You're like, oh gosh, I've got to do it again. Here we go. So
I don't know.
Because usually that same reaction of Jesse there is the same reaction I think Preston does on Sunday morning. It's like, do I have to go?
I actually love my job.
They're so mean to me.
I don't know.
That was always like a joke. There was always a joke of like someone waking up going, honey, I don't want to go because I don't want to go to work because people are mean and this and this and then. And she's like, well, honey, you're the pastor. You got to preach. And it's like...
That's really good. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Fun times, isn't it?
That's hilarious.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Day podcast.
The next day on your discipleship journey.
I'm Chad.
I'm Christy.
We're joined by
Preston.
2 weeks in a row.
Wow.
This is huge.
I know. You're going to become a regular member. Well, we'll see. You haven't
A
passed
co-host? Is that
you
the-
haven't
yeah.
passed
Funny how
the
that works out,
audition
isn't it?
process yet. You got to bring it.
The audition process.
No, but we're glad that you could all join us on this podcast. What we do on this is we're going to be breaking down and talking about the...
Breaking down.
We were breaking it down.
Breaking
breaking down like Jesse on a Monday morning going to school.
That's right.
I don't think I was ever that way. I don't know if I ever was ever
That
like,
does
I don't
not
want to go
surprise
to
me.
school. Like...
I'm
I'm
not
sure there were
surprised.
times I dreaded, like, there's a test or there's something going on. I'm sure there was that. But I was just like, I don't know, go to school. Like, I'll get good food. I like the food at school. I'm probably one of the odd ones. But anyways, and you get to hang out with friends and all that. So, but we on this podcast, we are talking about the sermons you get to hear on Sunday. These will be up on the podcast, and you can always go to our YouTube pages and find those as well. So you get to hear Christy in the Element, Preston in the traditional service, and Carl at the West Campus. So Preston, you actually inspired the icebreaker for me. And it is, what is your favorite snack cake? Like Little Debbie? Little Debbie, because you mentioned this, and we'll talk about it, I guess, when we talk about your sermon, but you did talk about a particular snack cake.
I mean, yeah, and I guess the thing is, like, obviously, if you were in traditional, like, zebra cakes take it back to my childhood, right?
Yeah.
So clearly that's how that goes.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure there are better options. What is the age that you like? Do you age out of snack cakes? Like, is there a day that like you grew up and you're like,
No.
this
No.
is
always exciting.
Y'all aren't as old as I am. Like at some point you're just like, I just don't crave a snack cake.
No,
Now,
I don't
like
know
a
that I ever
AAA or German
craved
chocolate
it.
cake, absolutely. We
so
do that
an
for all day
actual-
long. An actual cake.
But if I see the box of snack
Right.
cakes, I'm like, ooh, like zebra cakes.
So that's
We
how
had-
she is, because we kept them all at the guy's house at the beach house, and we
she's
made sure the
upset.
girls didn't have any
I've heard
snacks.
stories about this, about how Chrissy's been upset with the snack options.
I have, yes. There's a lot of.
And people on
yeah.
the podcast have heard her
He
rants.
canceled the beach retreat
too.
forever because I was so upset about
That's
the
why.
snacks.
I love it.
But think back of like kind of any sort of one of those desserts. It doesn't have to be particularly Little Debbie, but it could be just any kind of Yeah, I don't know. Just
I
some sort of a snack type
I
of
do
thing.
love zebra cakes. I feel like that it doesn't take me back to my childhood per se, because my mom was like, absolutely not. I will not buy anything that has palm kernel oil in it. But
What?
Palm kernel oil.
palm kernel oil.
Palm kernel.
Oil.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Anyway.
thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is a whole thing. My mom, we know this. Okay.
What is
like
a palm kernel?
I don't actually know, but the oil is apparently real bad for you. So, yeah, we know this. I was the kid that went to school with fresh spinach leaves and cherry tomatoes, and that's fine. But I loved a zebra cake, and like if I got my hands on
Set
one,
you off.
oh, it was so good. So like I still get excited about zebra cakes.
Right.
I do also really love a good like crunchy Nutter Butter. So
Oh, those.
No, that's
Is it
not,
like-
you,
Is
you
that not a
just
snack
you got
cake?
out of the cake realm. Yeah, Nutter
Okay.
Butters
Well-
are different.
No, I would still count that
It's
as
like a Little
it's
Debbie thing, right?
Yeah, any of those type of things.
Is it a
It
cake,
could be
though?
a brownie.
It's not a
It could be
cake.
like the
It's
cosmic brownie. Is that for all? Like
Which ew, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, I guess if it has to be, what other cake options
No,
are
I'm
there?
thinking like when I say snack cake, I'm just thinking of Little Debbie
Like
Twinkie
Twinkies.
things
The
in that
treats.
same
Little
set.
Twinkies.
Like a honey bun is not a
Ew.
like a honey bun's not a cake, but it is a in the
Yeah.
snack cake little aisle.
Also gross. No, no.
It has
What?
a sponge to it.
It's literally either zebra cakes or Nutter Butter or bust.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's
Nutter
like.
Butters are good.
that's it.
There, I go over with it.
What's yours?
Mine has always been a Star Crunch.
What is
And
that?
You never had a Star Crunch?
Is this like a Lufkin thing?
No,
Backwoods.
it's a
There's the Still, and then there's the Star Crunch Factory. They're right next to each other.
yeah, really.
What? No.
No, Star Crunch is we used to always get it's Little Debbie, and we used to always get them at soccer games. We used to always get them at soccer games, and I remember going into junior high and high school, and sometimes you just get a large one of those, and that would fill you up for lunch, like, and it only cost like a quarter.
Oh,
Like
no.
it was, yeah. So Star Crunch was always good with me. That or oatmeal cream pie was always really good. I felt healthy with that because it's oatmeal. You know, it's healthy.
That is
Oatmeal
true.
cream pies. I forgot
there
about
it is.
those.
I forgot about those as well.
Yeah.
Those are the real ones.
They did feel like the healthiest option.
I'm sure they're not. It's still like all sugar, but I just like to think they were. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Let's talk about sermons.
all right. I mean, Little Debbie was our sponsor, so if you need a snack cake, get a Little Debbie.
I feel like we've
Yeah.
exhausted it.
All right. So, yeah, let's talk about our sermons because we are continuing with the series of Because He Lives, I Can Okay. And because He lives, we're looking at this well-known hymn, and we're breaking down, looking at different parts in the chorus and these different lyrics of it. And what was this last Sunday? What was the last?
Oh, stop it.
remember
You've asked me
Chrissy
this
said-
about 10 million
What was it?
times.
What was
It's, he holds the future.
He holds
Dang it.
the
Remember it.
future.
Right?
Yeah. So he holds the future, and we got to read from the ever popular book in the Bible, Revelations. No, okay, I won't do
No,
that.
don't you dare.
I know people who they stress that S, and I'm like, why are you stressing the S? It's like they're trying to prove something. I'm like, it's just Revelation. Revelation.
Revelation.
Yeah. Anyways, but we got to read from Revelation. That's always fun. And, I mean, everyone kind of did a quick little talk about, you know, the misconceptions of Revelation, which I think is always much needed because so many times people just think, oh, it's just that weird, trippy book, which it is. But they just think, oh, it's all about how the end of the world's going to happen. It's going to look exactly like this. And if only we could figure out the math, then we can figure out exactly when the end of the world is going to happen because we want to be raptured and not be the people left with 7 years of tribulation
Oh, dear God.
as the
So
Left
much
Behind,
trauma.
as the
So
Left
much
Behind
trauma.
series and all that. Like, so there's so much that comes with Revelation, but y'all, all three of y'all's sermons were just these beautiful reminders of God holds the future, and it doesn't need to be this scary, uncertain thing. So, what did y'all? Preston, you talked, and this is what prompted the snack cake thing, because you were just saying that story of the guy's like, "You got to come to my party. We're gonna have cake," and you're
Right.
just like, "Okay." And then he goes, and it's like little wrapped. zebra cakes.
I thought you were going to say that zebra cakes would survive the apocalypse.
No,
I
that's
thought this was the
Twinkies.
angle here.
That's Twinkies.
Because it would.
That's a whole other thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I just love how excited your friend got with the zebra. He's so easily amused with the zebra cakes. But you said that it came with 2, and then you got is this a double win, or is this a real treat? And then you tied that into Revelation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Revelation, like you said, Chad. I mean, it's such an incredible book that takes so much effort, right? It's not. We love John because I can pick up any little piece of John, read it, and it just makes my day better, or it challenges my day. I mean, and most of the time in John, it's doing both at the same time when you really go deep into it. But Revelations was one of those things where it's like, hey, how do you try to, I mean, it's almost like eating an elephant, right? Like you just have to do it one bite at a time. And yet at the same time, you can't forget like what this whole massive book is all about, right? And but the good thing about what Revelation 21 is it reminds us, and it's almost like you need to read that chapter first before, for me, I always read the chapter first before I dive into chapter 1, because I'm like, okay, there's blessing coming. Like there's good things that are about to happen, right? Because
otherwise it's a tough read.
Because it's not one rabbit trail, it's like 8,000 rabbit trails that you can get caught up.
And there's the head of a rabbit somewhere.
Yeah, probably so,
Yeah.
with the seal stamped on it somewhere. So yeah, I know, but I would say that's, I mean, for me, like that's Revelation is the end of this book that we can't, I mean, if you call the Bible a book, this collection of people's experiences with God, it's trying to wrap it all up. And of course it's something that we have a hard time wrapping our head around. However, in the midst of all of it, just like there is in all these stories, there's these blessings that happen, right? There's these promises that God gives us, and it's huge for me, right? Just to hold on to that fact and that piece.
Yeah. And then I know, Krista, you mentioned that, that you just talked about is the book. The Bible is a book, but it's a library, and how the genre of the apocalyptic literature is something that people would have been familiar with then.
Yeah, like this was a familiar type of literature for a first century Jewish person to read. Like this was not a new kind of thing, because I mean it's like in Ezekiel and Daniel, like we see that kind of literature already. So they would have been like familiar with it and what the, purpose of it was, how to read something like that. Because like, I mean, honestly, if I were a brand new Christian, or maybe someone that like was skeptical of Christianity or had never heard anything about it, and I started with the book of Revelation in chapter 1, I would close that so fast and be like, this is bonkers. Like, who believes this? I mean, it's weird. Like it's so weird, right? And it is like, for one, it's the type of literature that it is, but all of this like, symbolic vision and all of that stuff is characteristic of apocalyptic literature. But, kind of like what you said is like Revelation, and I love reading this in commentaries. I think it's my favorite way to take Revelation, is that it is really like a culmination of everything that we've already read. It's like there's not like new information here, really. I mean, and if you take any of this as like new information, you're one of the wackadoos who's like, all right, I'm going to chart when the end of the world is and, try to figure it out. And Jesus is like, I don't even know, y'all. Yeah. Like, only the Father knows, right? So
I know Carl gave an example of the person who like got it down to the date and all that. Well, I'm like, I don't know how he feels now. Like he got it wrong, right?
I know.
unless it did happen and we're just here still. I don't know.
We didn't realize, we blinked. No, but I think just like reading it as like a culmination of everything that we've already read, and ultimately just like same God, same victory, same gospel. Mm-hmm. And like Revelation is not really an ending. Like it's the best ending you can give to something eternal, really, that like it's God, it literally is ending with like, I'm making things new, there's more to be seen. There's more to be lived and experienced beyond this. So it's just it's such a wild read. of a book. And, I think just diving into, all trying to like figure out what it means is really, it's fascinating. I don't think it's not worthwhile, to pour over it. But at the end of the day, even like I said in my sermon, like even Revelation scholars are like, I don't know what it means. Like, I can't tell you definitively what it all means. You can't.
That's right. When you said, for anyone who says they have it all figured out, just run away from that person. Which that's something I had a college professor. It was one of our theater professors. He would go into the same rant saying, if anyone says they know this answer, turn around, don't walk, but run away from them because they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny to think that this book, I mean, if you get into like canon and lore and all of the pieces, like this book was like on the chopping block until the very end. Like, do we put it in or do we not put it in? Like this one in like 17th Peter, whatever that one was. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But I actually do this, not a book.
Enoch,
Let's
Thomas,
just put that out there. Yeah,
Mary
it's
Magdalene.
hard.
It's hard to follow up the 16th Peter.
It is. We drop the mic on that one. But I would say that, I would say that in this, I don't know what it would be like. I mean, in essence, right, there's so many hundreds of years that the church is living with all these floating books, right? There's not one standardized Bible. But what that means is at some point they had to put an end to the stories about how God is working on the pages of a book. It's great that Revelation is there because it reminds us God is still working, right? Like it reminds us. I mean, remember that it's in the sister to this book is John. How do we end John? Like the most powerful part, like this is a teaser for Bible study. Anytime you do a Bible study for John, these are just some of the stories we decided to write down.
Yeah,
it is the most unnerving part of the book of John. You're like, but these are all so good. Like, why didn't you write the other? Like
more?
Harry Potter wrote 8 books. Why can't we have 8 Johns? Like this is like it's 7 books. I get 8 movies, but right. I mean, like why can't we have 7 different books of John? Like, why did we have to stop?
Right.
But the point of it is not to tell everything, right?
Yeah.
And the point of Revelation is not to tell everything.
Right.
The point of Revelation is to say, hey, story's not finished, right? We're not done. And so, yeah, it's fascinating to try to wrap all that together. And how do you wrap your head around it? You're not supposed to, right?
No, I mean, I love the phrase, finite minds for eternal concepts, and it just, I mean, it covers so many bases. The phrase we like to say in Methodism is holy mysteries, right? Like we have holy mysteries, and Revelation is absolutely at the top of that list, right? One of the top things in the list. There's so many, but we can't possibly wrap our minds around it.
No, and it's an invitation, right? The Bible's an invitation. Right. And so, you think about it too, like we don't really do Revelation much in children's Sunday school. I know that when I was youth director, the number one book request was Revelation. Everybody wants to know.
Because they hear about all the...
Right.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Right. It's crazy. And then, people write whole fictional book series on Revelation. We're not even going to go there. But I would say that like when you get to the end of it all, right, you're like, hey, I wonder how I'll read Revelation when I'm 30, when I'm 40, when I'm 50, when I'm 60, when I'm 70. And this is one of those books where you're like, hey, we should like take notes about, hey, what did this mean for me at this point in my life when I had kids in elementary school, kids in high school, right? When I'm an empty nester, when I'm retired, how does Revelation hit for me then? Because I think that it probably hits in different stages of life.
Yeah. No, and I think like in this, in chapter 21, one thing that we talked about on Sunday was like how people really fixate on chapters 1 through 20 of Revelation and try to figure it out. What is it saying? What does it mean? When are things going to happen? Is this like literal? Is it, what does it symbolize? I've seen, where they take some symbol and be like, oh, doesn't that sound like a helicopter? Like helicopters. And then you're like, oh no, like we have helicopters. Does that mean like the end of the world is imminent? And it's like, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it is in terms of like when Jesus is like, I'll be back soon, well, I mean, what is your definition of soon, right? But so, it is like we believe that this is happening. We say it in our creeds, like, And we say it at the communion table, at least in traditional, every Sunday we say, we believe that Christ has died, Christ is risen, and Christ will come again, right? So we believe this. But people tend to focus on those things rather than chapters 21 and 22, which are, again, like it's this extension of this good news. It's like, what is our hope? This, our hope is in that God is making all things new. And I love we were talking about this throughout the week, Preston, about God, this is active language. It's not like future tense. It's not like God is holding off until this day to make it's like we are part of that. We are part of things were made new when Christ died and resurrected from the dead, right? Like that was a new chapter for all of humanity when Christ was born, right? This was a new chapter for all of humanity, right? Or all of humanity in creation. I tried to put that together. Creanity.
That's nice.
It's a new word,
I like
Creanity.
It's a shortcut. Well, but I mean, what you're saying too is, it is all about making things new. But if you're going to get to the nitty gritty of 21 and 22, remember what the promise is. Like, this is the thing. We'll talk about this in Bible studies because I bring it up almost every Bible study. We get this idea that, okay, finally, when I get to be 93 years old, that's my goal, 93, right? If I get to 93 years old and I'm like, hey, this is awesome, then I can finally just be like, peace out. I'm going to the heavenly kingdom where the streets are gold and the pearly gates and everything is perfect. And I can leave. We literally sing songs about this. I leave all these troubles behind. Right. That is not what the end of this book says.
Right.
The end of this book says, right? I don't even know where we got that from, right? I need to go look into it. Where do the pearly gates come from?
I know that is, yeah.
But the whole point of it is that oh no, heaven is coming down to the earth and this is where we're going to live. So, I'm just going to put it out there a little bit. We probably should recycle and, keep our gardens weeded. Because if heaven's coming down here, then that means we're not leaving our troubles. That means that God is coming to finish the work that's here.
Well, and see, that's I love that you said that because, I was talking with a friend about this the other day that some people read this. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and first earth had passed away and the sea was no more, right? So they read this first verse and they're like, oh, so the earth is gone, vanishes, goes up in flames, and then we're just floating beings in space or whatever, and there's no home, but it's cool because we're
this has a GPS location at it, right?
Yeah.
We can go today. It's a little sketchy right now. It's a little bit of a messy neighborhood, but we can go today to the Temple Mount, right? And we can put our finger on where we think and know and believe that the altar of God stood, right? And that's where it's all to a GPS location, right?
Yeah.
That's what it says. Now, do we understand Revelation as a metaphor? Absolutely we do. But the reality is that no, they were pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's coming right back down here onto this part.
Jesus lands on the Mount of Olives.
That's
know?
right. The threshing floor.
Yeah.
It's this. Yeah. We're back to David's threshing floor.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and the way that God puts all these layers together, you almost wonder if God's a little sarcastic and say, "No, I'm going to do it just to show you that I can."
Right.
I'm going to do all that. Right. I'm going to plant my backside right here.
Well, and it's again, and this to me, is again just a repetition of what we've seen throughout Scripture. That's because God is in the business of redemption. That's right. Not of throw it away and start over. That's God has always been in the business of redemption. So. Of course,
He holds the future.
He holds the future.
That's right.
And that's what we were talking about this with students in Sunday school. And we asked them the question of what is something you used to do but then you gave up on? And then we asked them, well, why did you give up on it? And they either outgrew it, they just didn't, they lost interest in all this. And it's just well, how does this feel that God has yet to give up on us? And here's this story. He holds the future, and God still is active, and God has not given up on us.
Right.
And just
right, because when we're talking about wink, wink, nod, nod from God here, we're talking about he actually sets up Revelation that he puts the old rivers, right, from Genesis, right, the river of life, right, that we sing songs about this, and we're going to run it right through the middle of this place, right? So we are actually not only redeeming, we're making it better than it's ever been, but we're also bringing back all of the old things. Like, we're not throwing things away.
Right.
We're not throwing you away. We don't throw people away.
Well, thank you for
Right.
not
Right.
throwing.
Yeah.
He looked right at me.
Right.
We're
Yeah,
not
we
throwing
don't
you
throw
away,
Chad away.
Chad.
We're not throwing Chad away.
I mean, but
we
it's
thought
like,
about
right.
it yesterday, but we're not going
We
to do
see
it today.
this. We see the visual in Ezekiel, right?
That's
With like this
Yeah.
temple, and then I love, one of my favorite things when talking about like not throwing people or whatever, we don't throw things away. Is you see this river coming from the east. And it was, in that ancient literature, the East, if things came from the East, it was always like, it goes to the East. If things go to the East, or the East was kind of like recognized as a negative thing. And it's just interesting that it shows like from the East or to the East that this river flows from there or to there. It's like inclusion of what people might have seen as the enemy.
All the good and the bad.
Right.
And God redeems all of it.
Right. And then like from these rivers, like all of this life is growing. And I love it.
And whose sermon was it? President, it may have been yours or Carl's, where y'all sharing a story of someone who said that they witnessed what the New Jerusalem would have been like. And I think it was Carl, because he was saying how this person like mentioned this lady from a church he was at. She mentioned something, and he was kind of thinking, well, I think I want to get out of this conversation because it's about to get weird.
I remember him saying this, yeah.
But what she was saying was, when she started noticing all the people in the room at the same time, and there was different languages being spoken, and everyone was caring for one another, she was just like, this must be what the New Jerusalem's going to be like. And he was like, yeah, I think so.
I love that. Yeah.
Where he thought like she was going to
Beautiful.
go into some like rabbit hole of revelation. I was like, no, that's actually beautiful. That's actually what the image is.
Yeah.
And,
No, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's so many moments like that. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think we have, if only Revelation can just help us to widen our view just a little bit of what we think God is doing and what God will do, right? Then we've achieved something, right? We've achieved. Okay, I'm gonna take my boundaries today, and I'm gonna expand them just a little bit more, right? And every time I read this book, I should expand them just a little bit more.
Right.
And maybe by the end of my life, maybe when I'm 93, we can finally get to the point and be like, okay, good. I'm a lot wider than I used to be on what I think that God is capable of doing.
Yeah.
Right, which is huge. So
Yeah. No, and I talked
On your
about
93rd birthday, I just want to show up in a Grim Reaper outfit and be
you're
like,
going to.
Preston,
You're going
it is time.
yeah,
It is
and
time.
they'll wheel you in your wheelchair, and I'll be in my wheelchair. And we'll have a
There you
good day,
go.
It's good.
Yeah, you and your that's right. He roped you right into
Yeah,
that.
I know.
But I talked about too a little bit about you wrote a credo. Did you write a credo? Was that part of your
I did
degree
write
plan?
a credo. I did.
Oh, yeah, you talked about
Yeah.
that.
Dr. Elaine Robinson wrote it for her.
Oh, Dr. Jingles.
Oh, Dr.
Yeah.
Oh, Dallas.
I love Dallas.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was something I talked about a bit. I was joking with my parents because they're like, "What are you preaching about on Sunday?" And I was like, "Oh, Revelation," and they were like, "Oh." I was like, "I know," because it's like everyone's. I mean, not everyone's. I won't speak for everybody, but it is probably my least favorite book to preach out of because,
Sure.
and like I said in my sermon, there's not a whole lot to say. Like there's not a lot to say other than what's in there, what's written. Like
And I will say, chapter 21 is like the only chapter I
Right.
really hear ever preached about. No, it's like nothing else.
But we stop before verse 8.
Yeah. You always stop before verse 8. It tells people we're liars.
Liars are going to go to hell. Yeah.
That's right. That's Chad's favorite.
Yeah.
But no, I was telling my parents about that. And, but so when I wrote my credo, eschatology, which, big seminary word, definition, I have it right in front of me. The part of theology concerned with death, judgment, and the final destiny of the soul and of humankind. So you have to address all of these things, right, in that section of the credo. And for me, that was my shortest section of my entire credo. And it also was the end of my credo. And I was telling this, I was telling my parents about this, the sermon and all of that. And I was like, remember when I wrote that big paper and I didn't have a whole lot to say about it, because I just feel like there's there's not much that I can say that isn't, hasn't already been said, or like wouldn't I don't want to like, it's so scary, honestly, to talk about and be like, what heresy am I preaching?
Yeah.
As a pastor, like, I don't want to preach any heresy. Right. My dad's like, I hate when pastors give sermons on heaven. And he's like, and he's so funny because he's usually very much like, I want to hear exactly what, this pastor's take is on things. But he's like, my pastor preached on that not that long ago. And I was like, you don't know what heaven's like. You've never been there. I just thought it was so funny.
You could bring in somebody who has claim to see.
Yeah.
Some people have spent 90 minutes there.
Yeah, but I told my parents, I was like, my sermon's pretty much just like a big lecture on what not to do with the book of Revelation. And I remember
when I read that section too, and I was like, and it really was, I wasn't really trying to make it short. I was like, how do I get out of this without getting myself into trouble?
Exactly.
Right. And that's what you're saying is right. Like,
exactly.
So I mean, like I have a lot of respect for anybody who tries. Right. Of course, we made everybody at St. Peter's. Even Alyssa brought it up in the children's sermon. I have never preached. I have never done a children's sermon on Revelation. Thank you, Pastor Preston. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not wrong. This is like,
there's
it's
lots
hard.
of animals and
all sorts of ones you've probably never seen before.
Right. Yeah. They're not the whole animals, like parts of them. And then they're like,
that's fun times on that.
Yeah.
And there's some horses in the sky, and there's a dragon, and okay.
But I think that like, in my credo, I actually referenced my credo, and Justin and I were joking about it. He was like, "Are you going to put your name? Like, are you going to put the slide with the quote and like your name at the bottom? Yeah. Like, this is your quote."
She gave everybody copies of it.
I did.
Passed Here you go.
36 page. Yeah.
She charged $10 per copy.
But no, even in my credo, it was funny, like going back to this. So like, it hasn't been as long as it's been for you because you went to seminary before just because you went, I was a second career pastor. So you went before I did, but, I've
long ago,
long time ago. No, mine's I only wrote mine like a couple years ago,
Sure.
So, but I hadn't read it. Who goes back and reads their credo? Well, I pulled it out.
You do it every week. I did
it. I went back to the eschatology, section because I'm like, what did I say? What was inspired that I said in here? I made a pretty good grade on my credo, so I was like, all right, let's see what I wrote. And it was interesting going back and seeing that the, kind of my point with that whole section was the same point that I really wanted to drive home here. And it wasn't like, don't try to interpret Revelation. The point was, again, like there's no new information here. And what would knowing change, about your life today more than anything else we've already read? And, and so I think, again, coming back to, God saying, I'm making all things new, this being active and present language and knowing the gospel and knowing what we were called to be, we are part of eternity now, right now into eternity, we are part of that redemption story. We're part of, being able to actively, with the Holy Spirit, redeem creation and bring this, this story whenever that happens, right? But bringing that to, its fullness and wholeness, sometime in the future. But God has always really enabled us and empowered us as the church to go out and do this work on earth. So, I feel like Revelation just, it kind of tells us the eternal perspective, right? God's perspective on the things that are happening, but our job is the same that it always was. It's not to count down the days or, have an escapist mindset or be a, doomsdayer.
Didn't Paul have to write that to, I forgot which letter it was, where he's telling people y'all keep waiting for Jesus. Your job is to live right now. And he had to keep reminding, because some of them were just like, well, I'll just make sure I'm not sinning. And then
maybe it was Corinthians, one of the
Corinthians. Yeah, and it was just like, well, we'll just wait, because they thought it was going to happen real soon. And he was like, no, but you're failing to care for one another. You're failing to do this. And so, so the goal isn't just to stay out of trouble and just wait.
And it's interesting to bring that up because that's the Anchor Bible's commentary's big thing is that, hey, don't forget when you get to Revelation chapter 1, we are in direct conflict on this. And I would say conflict might be a hard word there, but you're in direct conflict with this idea that Paul said Jesus is now. Mm-hmm. John says Jesus is coming someday. Mm-hmm. Right. And there's a variation in the kind of Christianity that's being put here, right? Because for John, this is coming to fruition, right?
Right.
And God is coming to dwell amongst us, and it's not soon, not yet, right?
Well, it's a difference of an ecclesiology and an eschatology.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Right. Where John is the cosmos, in the beginning was the Word. And so we're going from Genesis until eternity, right? Paul is we don't have time for that. You better know who God is, right? We don't have time to get married. We don't have time to fight with our friends.
Right.
We don't have time to be a Roman citizen or not a Roman citizen. We have got to, Chad, if you don't believe in Jesus right now, it's happening at any moment.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's right now.
Well, and Paul's also the, author of the language, you are the body of Christ, right? So
presently
speaking.
Right.
So I see this as it is a both and. It is, yes, what John is saying, it's what Jesus is coming. God is fulfilling all of these things. And Paul is saying, we're part of it. Yeah, both. You're both right.
Well, and we also get a progression of Paul, right? You get Paul in 1 Corinthians, which was way before he wrote Romans. And Romans is on his deathbed. 1 Corinthians is in the infancy of his preaching, right? And if you don't think that I have horror stories in my mind about going back to listen to my very first sermons in Missouri City, Texas, or in Rowlett, Texas. Oh God, what did I say? That's a prayer, right? Please, God. I mean, I am so sorry. What was I thinking, right? Because if you don't think that 20 years hasn't changed, my thoughts about what the Bible actually says, right? And so, it's just fascinating to think about. And I'm not saying that 1 Corinthians is wrong. It's just it's all perspective, right? And it all works together for the good of those who love.
And a lot of it too, again, is the language, prescriptive versus descriptive. So it's there's a lot. It's you kind of have to discern that within the epistles, especially what is descriptive of the culture and the time and the specific instances that Paul is writing to versus what is prescriptive. What are things that we take away from that and say, okay, we apply this to our own lives.
And we can learn something from all of it, but we also have to understand what the directive is.
Right.
That's huge. It's been a good day.
I know, it has.
Man, we covered
Chad's
so
looking
much
at his
more
watch,
than
guys.
Revelation.
It's over.
He's
right.
yeah, he's ready to kick us out of here.
Here's a revelation. Let's stop.
Wow.
No.
That's enough.
It is enough. No, but this is good, and this has been a wonderful. I've always loved. We did this a couple of years ago where there was a Advent series over different hymns, Christmas hymns, and you got to break it down. And I love these. And I've done this with other songs too, with students. You kind of take these songs that are pretty well known, but you actually kind of break it down and say, here's what we believe theologically. So, this is all just in the chorus of Because He Lives. And, so it's just so much truth and so much stuff happening here. So, so we have one more on this series, I believe, right? And it is I will fear, life is worth the living.
I'm going to let you get there. There
life
you go.
Life is worth the living.
He's singing the whole chorus in his head just to get to the end of it.
It's kind of like if you had to say that, if you're ever doing alphabetical order, you always have to keep singing the alphabet. So, do y'all do that?
I can't get I'm trying to think of it right now, the rhythm. I've got the...
But can you sing it backwards?
No. The
alphabet backwards?
With the melody in place?
Oh, yeah. I know people who can. I can't do it, but I know people who can.
That used to be a big fear of TV shows and all. It used to make you think cops are going to pull you over, and even if you're completely sober, hey, you have to say the alphabet backwards. No, I can't. I don't know. I'm sober. I'm telling you.
No, thank you.
That's so funny.
Anyways, but yeah, one more for the sermon series. So we hope y'all could join us next week for that as we talk about life is worth the living. That's how I have to say it
Life is
like that.
worth the living.
But yeah, let's do our ministry shout out.
Kill Loretta Lynn.
Yeah. Just because. Yeah.
I love it.
We haven't done voices in a while, or
Oh.
impressions.
That was a fun time.
Yeah. But our ministry shout out, well, other than some things that are coming up, we hope y'all could join us for our game night over at the Kingsland campus this Wednesday from 6 to 7:30, or trivia over at the West campus from 6 to 7:30. Pizza on both ends, on both campuses, and just a fun time of fellowship and all that. So not only do we have that announcement, but we do want to give a shout out to a big part of takes up a large percent of our campus
ministry, church,
our ECDC, Early Childhood Development Center.
Yes, not to be confused with ACDC.
Yeah, not ACDC. No,
Yeah.
but ECDC. Our day
good?
school is going to. What was? Did you just do that?
I did.
Do it.
No.
All right. Well, one day you'll do some. We'll do some ACDC karaoke. And then
There
you'll
you go.
Do that. But no, the day school will be starting up next week, and it just kind of brings this whole new energy here to the church, because there's just, I don't know, children just bring this wonderful energy, and so they'll be all around the church, but mainly in their hallways. But this has been a very well known day school from all around the area. There's been times I've been out in the community and I'm wearing a St. Peter shirt, and people see me and they don't say anything about like, oh, the church service is all this. Oh, my children went there. And it was like so it is a really well-known thing. And so we want to give a shout out to all the things that the day school does, all the teachers, and also a big prayer for the parents who may be dropping off their little ones for the first time. So that's always a big step in this child's lives.
They're sad for 1 week.
Yeah. And then they're like, good, go, be a
Wow.
ladybug,
Oh my
be
gosh.
a frog,
Yeah,
be a whatever.
It's newfound freedom
Yeah.
again.
All right. Well, but yeah, we hope you can all join us next week.
Next week is Labor Day. So we're gonna
we'll figure out something.
TBD.
Is it wrong to work on Labor Day, or is
Yes,
it good to work
it
on
is.
Labor?
It's a sin.
Okay,
It's
so don't work.
one of them listed in the Ten
Yeah.
Commandments,
The
actually.
American Sabbath.
Yeah. But we hope you can all join us next week, or whenever it is, for the Next Day podcast.
See you next time.
You're gonna say bye.
Bye.